Thanks so much for joining me. For the next 10 days, I am going to hop on briefly and talk about a key component to making sure that your virtual event is successful. Chances are you are in the space right now where you are being forced to, and we've talked about this before, where you are being forced to pivot. And for me, it's really uncomfortable. I do not like acting in a reactionary measure. I like being proactive. I like preventing fires instead of putting them out. However, we're not really in that opportunity right now. So what I want to do is I started putting together this document that I was going to share with everybody of the 10 most successful, things that you can do to ensure success for your virtual event. And as I did that, and it became page after page after page after page, I was like, this is way too much. I'm just going to break it up into pieces and give you guys a little bit each day. So before I start, the first thing that I really want to clarify is that when I'm talking about virtual events, it goes beyond these virtual summits that you see everybody is doing right now. A virtual event can be as simple as a webinar. It can be a series of multiple speakers in a Facebook Live group. It can be a full-blown single-day, multi-day summit. Whatever structure you plan, these components are all still going to be super, super important. So right now, obviously, there is no shortage of speakers who are looking for virtual stages, and it's probably not too difficult to find them. I actually have made the decision that I am going to host a virtual event in the coming months, and still working through all of that. But the first thing I did was immediately reached out to some of the speakers that I really look up to that I would love to be at the event. And so I have this list of speakers, and I'll announce all that as we get closer, to the time. But as I started doing all that, then I started looking at them and I'm like, okay, well, what do all these speakers have in common? Who are they? These are all people that I look up to and that I have really resonated with their message and that I want to share that with my audience. But where's the common theme that ties them all together? And that's why I'm calling this segment, tip number 1, is that content is not enough. You have to have context. So just to kind of, what I mean by that, content is the actual material that's being presented at your event. Context is how you position that material with a storyline and a purpose so that it truly, truly provides value for your audience. Because if you don't take the time and find that common tie, that common theme, that common thread, and actually curate that content, you're not creating a collective experience for your attendees. And what you don't want to happen is obviously, and we'll talk about this in coming days, but what you don't want is for somebody to resonate with one of the speakers they see on your lineup and then tune in for that one speaker session and then log out and not stay engaged throughout, your entire event. So that's what I mean when I say context and content. And that's why, as I'm sure you're seeing all of these virtual events that are coming up everywhere, there's always an underlying theme. So it's really important, even if you do it out of order like I did, because again, we're all acting in a very reactionary way. That's where, yes, Zach, exactly. That's where the pivoting and planning comes back in. So it's important to really take the time, set it aside, and figure out what is the value that you're going to convey. How does it all tie together? And there's a lot of ways. Once you figure that out, there's a lot of ways that you can do that throughout your virtual event. Even if, this is what I'm talking about now does go a little bit more into more of a multi-speaker type event, but keep it in mind, even if you are doing a 1-hour webinar, if you're doing a webinar series, the goal here is to provide value and keep people engaged. You want to keep them coming back all the time. So I'm going to give you guys one way. There's a lot of different ways that you can accomplish this. I think the easiest way to do it is really creating that synergy from the very beginning that highlights what those connections are between all of the sessions. And that's what's going to keep your participants there throughout all of the sessions. So one way to do this is opening and closing segments. Chances are you're already planning on, coming on, introducing your speakers for the day, getting excited, getting that feeling, eliciting that feeling of a live event. And if you're not planning on doing that, then let's talk, because that is that right there is what I am so lit up about virtual events, is bringing that live experience into people's homes. We're not in a place that we can do that right now. Live events, that is my happy spot. Like, I love, the kitty just joined. I love live events, and we can't do that now. And one of the reasons I love live events is for that energy and the emotional stimulation and the connection and that feeling that you feel. And there's so many ways you can do that, even when your attendees are behind a computer screen. Anyway, I digress. I get passionate when I start talking about live events. But talking about virtual events, it's all about that opening kickoff. And if it's a single day event, you do it on the first day. If it's a multi-day event, you repeat this process every single day. And really, you're going to want to, welcome everybody and highlight what that underlying theme for the day and for the event is. Give them, tee up your agenda for the day. Comment on how the different sessions are interrelated. Give, as the organizer, you've already received everybody's presentations. You know what they're going to talk about. Give little teasers that will keep them wanting to stay on, to watch the next speaker. You can come on after each speaker, and as you introduce the next speaker, talk about the interrelation, the interconnectedness between all of these sessions. And then at the end of the day, you do that again. Wrap up the day with kind of an interactive recap segment, right? So at this point, you most likely, hopefully, have chat enabled in your platform, and we can talk about platforms and technology, and I cannot even begin to tell you how many demos I have sat on in the last 3 weeks. I am on technology overload, but at the end of the day, when you're thanking all your speakers and your attendees, wrap it up. Open it up for that chat, for that share. One of the things at live events that I love is when people share. They pass the microphone around, and that is where you really get that connection and where you see what resonated with them. Because what resonated for me may not resonate for you, and what resonated for somebody else I might not have even processed it that way, but then hearing somebody who wasn't the actual speaker present that information and how it affected them, it then may have an impact on me. So open up the floor for shares. You can, unmute microphones and so on and so forth, and just ask your attendees to review the day. One thing that I've seen that's been really successful is starting with a poll. It gets people just in that easy engagement, clicking the button, saying yes, saying no, who was your favorite speaker? Which speaker impacted you the most? There's tons of different questions that you could ask. And then ask them what aha moments they had. Some people are going to put it in the chat, and then other people you can open the floor depending on, what they want to do. And then I think my favorite question and the best way to really end out your day and what ties it all together is, again, another recap, but then also just asking, what are some of the ways that you are going to take the information that you learned today and actually apply it into your day-to-day life? So that might be something that, that's a great question for shares that really starts getting the engagement going. And if you've heard any of, my other lives, I'm a big proponent of, declaring your goals, stating them publicly, because then you're held accountable for that. Very similarly to the way yesterday I put a post out saying I'm doing Facebook Lives for the next 10 days. So if I don't do a Facebook Live, not only am I going to let myself down, but I'm letting down the people that are joining, that are looking for this information to help you, expedite getting your event live and online. And again, it's not about it, a 4-day, 3-day, 2-day, 1-day summit, a half-day summit, a webinar. There's so many different ways that you can take your message and share it, because right now, everybody, there's no shortage of it, but everybody needs to hear it, and everybody resonates with different speakers in different ways. So that is one way that you can really combine the content and the context. If you're looking for more ideas, I would love to chat with you. I'll drop my Calendly link in the comments, and so you can just schedule some time. We can talk about it. There's a lot of different things that I am working with my clients on to help them pivot into this virtual space. And a lot of them, they're not these are people that may not have previously even done live events, but now they're in this reactionary place of how am I going to get my message out? What am I going to do? And so I'm helping them put together webinars with their presentations, with their marketing plans and strategies. So if you are finding yourself in the position where maybe you don't know what you don't know, but you know you need to do something, incorporating some form of digital event is definitely the way that we are, the direction that we are headed this day and age. So again, I would love to talk with you if there's some way that I can help you out. We should not all have to be figuring this out on our own. This is a time for us to all come together and help fast track each other's success, because it seems like we have an abundance of time, but we really don't have an abundance of time. So that's basically all I have for you guys today. Tomorrow I am going to hop on and we will talk about, I'm going to talk about networking and engagement opportunities. So that's where you saw a little sneak peek of how excited I get about how you can create opportunity and excitement and engagement and community with virtual events. So hop on tomorrow at 2:30, and I am excited to share all my other ideas to set you up for success. Have a wonderful weekend.